Hello, everybody. I thought I'd now begin my next video on an example of an MPH schedule for the whole year at Johns Hopkins. And I did this because, before I talk about practicums or capstones or whatever, I thought I'd show you what does a schedule look like before you take all these courses. And this is my schedule. So this is a schedule for a someone who concentrated in epidemiology and biostats and someone who took uh, two, um, almost two certificates. So, like I said before, the MPH program is supposed to be done as approximately 80 some odd units. You can do either customize or you can have the optional concentration. I took the concentration, and you're supposed to, you'll see here from the diagram that there's about 40 some odd, 30 to 40 some odd units or credits for the core MPH requirements, and then the other 50 to 40 to 50 are whatever you choose. And I chose to fill them with concentration and with certificates in my free electives. So every course I took, well, almost every single course I took was filled some sort of requirement. I only took one elective, and that was at the very end. So I'll begin by showing you what is the core requirements. So these are the core requirements. Um, you'll see the core requirements number one, two, three, and four. So number one is the core requirements, and those most of those core requirements, honestly, you take in the summer, so you don't really have to worry about any of those number one core requirements. The number two core requirements are your biostats courses, so you can either take the um, statistic reasoning, that's like the 610 series, or you take I took the next one, the 620 series. That's the methods, and the methods basically is someone. So the reasoning one, the first one is somebody who can just has a basic understanding of biostats. The second one is you're actually doing the biostats, like you're actually doing all the calculations and all that kind of stuff. And then the very last one is the 650 series. That's someone who is involved in the how did we derive all these calculations or all these formulas and how do we use them. It's much more involved. Rarely anyone in the MPH program does that. Most people do the 620 series. I would actually recommend the 620 series. Actually, that's the one with Dr. Diener West. That's the one I would go with, the 620 series. You'll see. Then there's another one, there's a public health biology component of your core requirements. That's usually just one course. I took one of them, and that actually fulfilled both the core and one of my requirements for my certificate for the risk policy certificate. The other one is a management sciences. You're supposed to take one credit or one unit, one class itself. I took the public health practice a course for that. That actually fulfilled both the management sciences and it also gave me my practicum hours requirement, or one of the ones that I did. Um, I'll mention later on that I actually had 350 some odd hours. You only need 100. And I didn't actually plan for 350. It just sort of happened. It was sort of painful too. Anyway, the last one is the social science and behavioral sciences courses, and I took basically well, I forgot exactly. We'll come to it, but I took one of them. I'll show you when I come to my courses. So here's my summer term. And these courses basically are pre-selected. You don't do jack. It's already done for you. They're all core requirements, every single last one of them. You could actually fill one more class. If you really look at it, you're looking at about four courses really. I know there's a whole bunch more, but it really boils down to four courses. Like the introduction to MPH studies is just like this one class. It doesn't. It's not even. It's a lunch hour. Don't worry about that. And then the lab is, well, you've got lab always anyway. So you really have your environmental health, your tools of public practice and design making, your designs of epidemiology, your uh, population dynamics, and that's about it. So you could actually, if you really wanted to, fill one more course if you want to, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it's worth it or anything, but most people just do the 17 units here. And that's four courses essentially. So the first time is when you actually start picking and choosing stuff. So you'll see the first course that I took was the statistics, and this is the 620 series, the first 620 series. That's with Dr. Dina West. I took it with. You'll see the instructor is her. And this fulfilled both a core requirement and one of my concentration. So I did biostats and epi. And then of course there's a lab. And then the next course was my public health toxicology course. I did that because it fulfilled a core requirement and it also fulfilled my risk policy certificate requirement. The next one I took was an informatics certificate course, and that was online. And oh, speaking of online, make sure you do the IOL, the online introductory class, whatever it's called, or introduction to online classes, whatever it's called, the IOL. Make sure you do that before the first term. I did it actually in the summer. I did in the summer term. I didn't do it before coming to Hopkins. Technically, it would have been better for me. I actually did it at the very, very last moment. If I didn't do it at that last moment, I would not have been able to take any of my certificate in informatics at all. It would have not been totally out of sync. Please do the IOL as fast as you can in one of the required days. You can actually do it in the summer. I did in the summer term, but see if you can do it before the classes start. Anyway, the next one was my risk policy class. That's for my certificate. So you can see already I've taken, and then the epidemiology is for my concentration. And of course, that's it. So you'll see that I'm already fulfilling every single course had what I took for a reason, and every single course I took for a grade. That was throughout the entire year. Every course I took was for a grade. So no audits, no anything like that. No just sitting in the class. No pass fail. Everything basically, unless it was forced on me pass fail, but everything was for letter grade. Second term, you'll see I continued with the Biostats 620 series with Dr. Dina West, and I took that fulfilled both of my core requirement and a concentration. And then there was a lab, but the next one was my other core requirement. This is for my behavioral changes. So this one was the individual, household, and community levels with Dr. Winch. Just to let you know, and he's Canadian. I'm also Canadian, so that's why I'm mentioning that. The next one is the next course I took. The next two courses I took for my informatics certificate: population health informatics and the population health information system design. Both of these were online. So the entire informatics, most of the informatics certificate is online. So that's why I was able to do two, because there was an online component. If there was a classes I had to go to, I could never fit in my schedule. The next one was my risk policy risk certificate course, and the last one was my concentration. So you see my second term has 22 total units or credits. This really was painful. This was 6 courses I had to juggle, and on top of this, I was also doing source, which was my extra credit kind of thing. I'll mention source later on in a separate video, and that source itself could sort of be as my practicum, and I spent 150 hours in the entire year. So this was 6 units, and I was doing my like extracurricular stuff. It was this term really was painful. So that's why I was saying 2 certificates and the concentration of biostats and epi was tough, and doing a source, basically extracurricular stuff got too much. So in my third term, I sort of eased out, uh, technically on advisement both of Dr. Dinoris and the dean. Like I said, I used to just chat sometimes um, with the dean, and so he would even tell me, he even told me, I think you're taking on way too much. See if you can cut down on some of the courses. So I calculated that I could cut one course on my risk certificate and take that next year as an online class. So that's what I'll be doing to complete my risk certificate. So again, the first course you see here is the Biostats Epi course at the 620 series, because again, core and concentration fulfillment. The next one was my informatics certificate course, which was a GIS course. I actually really like this course. This was really you get to they give you ArcGIS, which is a $3,000 software you get to use for free for a year. Really good software. And then my next class was my again 2 more classes in informatics certificate classes, standards and methods of research. And then my last course was epi the last epi class as a concentration. So this is our still technically I could squeeze in the risk certificate. I had the space, I had the units, the credits that I could have done it with. Like your total, the max credits you can take is 22. But at 22, you're at almost 6 courses. Too much, too much. Um, and then the very last term, I still took 5 courses. So again, the first one fulfilled actually my concentration. It was no longer core requirement. The Biosec 620 series, 624 now. Dr. Tanasha was the one who taught me that one. He's a really nice guy, really good teacher too. And then this is my only elective next that came up in my GIS class. This was no online. This was pure theory. This was hardcore biostats in spatial analysis, and this was no joke class. This was hard as hell. Uh, this was, but it was an excellent, good, very good course. The next one was for my capstone. This is not really a class. This is presenting your capstone project. I'll speak about that later on. This fulfilled a concentration requirement. And then my next course was my public health practice. This fulfilled a core requirement. And then then the other two were my informatics certificate courses still. This is where it says informatic health certificate practicum. I spent 100 hours in the third and fourth term to do this. So, like I said, so the health practice gave me 90 hours for my practicum, and the informatics gave me 100. So I could done either of them. So, like I said, you only need 100. But like I said, and I was already doing the 150 for my source extracurricular practicum if I wanted to count it. So that's where my 350 some odd were coming from. And then the very last one was my topics in risk assessment for my risk certificate. So that's about it. I'm sorry it took so long to go through my entire schedule, but it was one packed schedule. Um, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll continue on with the series. Next one I likely do is either the practicum requirement that was for the MPH program at Hopkins, or I might misspeak about the capstone. All right, see ya. Thanks, bye.